if you've been looking at SSD prices recently, yeah, it's bad. I started digging into the numbers, and they're kind of wild. A 4TB Samsung T9, for example, this was about $270 once upon a time. It's sitting at $800 right now on Amazon. The SanDisk Extreme Pro 4TB is $700, and the SanDisk USB 4 variant of the Pro 4TB is pushing $900. If you make videos of any capacity, we burn through storage faster than just about anybody, and when prices jump like this, it hits the wallet real quick. Now, I don't have a magic solution for this. Nobody does. But I do have what I think may be the best play right now. What's up? I'm Royce, and welcome to my channel where I talk about all things film and tech. And today we're talking storage. Why SSD prices have gotten this bad, and what I think a smart, interesting move you can make right now, even if it's not the perfect one. So before we get into what to do about it, it helps to understand why it's happening. Because this isn't random, and it's not going away anytime soon. The short version, it's AI's fault. It's eating up the supply chain like crazy. So every SSD you've ever used, every portable drive, every laptop drive, they're all built on something called NAND flash memory or NAND flash memory. Think of it as the actual storage chip inside the drive. It's the thing that holds your data. Now here's the problem. Companies are all sending their chips to one customer first. AI data centers. And those systems need a ton of storage. So the same chips that used to end up in your SSDs or your laptops, those are going to data center drives instead. So to put some numbers on it, NAND flash prices are up 246% since early 2025. That means the raw material inside your SSD costs roughly 3.5 times what it did a year ago. So demand for these chips is growing about 20 to 22% every year, but production is only growing about 15 to 17%. More people want it than there is to go around, and that gap is getting wider. Most analysts don't see real relief until late this year at the earliest, but it still won't be as it was for a while after that. Let me show you where things actually stand at the time of this recording. These are real prices as of April 2026, but also take into account prices can go up or down depending on when you're actually watching and what site you're looking at. For portable SSDs, the pre-built drives most of us are used to buying, at 1 terabyte, you're looking at about $200 to $300 for a Samsung T9 or SanDisk Extreme Pro. It's not too crazy. 1 terabyte is still relatively affordable compared to everything else, but it's important to note that these are USB 3.2 Gen 2 drives, so they're not the fastest. At 2 terabytes, things start to jump. The Samsung T9 is currently ranging between $400 to $500. The SanDisk Extreme Pro is in similar territory, but with some wiggle room between $300 to $500, which is crazy considering that the faster USB 4 SanDisk Extreme Pro 2 terabyte is running at $400. It's crazy because the USB 4 Extreme Pro is double the speed of both the T9 and the regular Extreme Pro. At 4 terabytes, it gets rough. The T9 is sitting at $800 for USB 3.2. The Extreme Pro 4 terabyte is $700, still 3.2, and the SanDisk Extreme Pro USB 4 is pushing $900 for a portable drive. That is absolute nonsense. So those are your standard options. And I know there are other brands and a sale can hit at any moment, but for the most part, no matter which brand you go with right now, these are the prices you're dancing around, unfortunately. And if there are cheaper drives, you need to account for their speed because there are a lot of USB 3.1 drives masquerading around, attracting people with their lower prices, but not realizing they're getting a much slower drive than they actually think. So the cost of a 1 terabyte drive is still workable, but the moment you need 2 or 4 terabytes, and if you're editing or dealing with large files, you're going to need that storage eventually. It gets a little rough. But here's the other side of it. There's another type of drive called an NVMe drive. You might have heard of these or are familiar if you've ever built your own PC. They're those little stick-shaped drives that go inside laptops and desktops. Now, those have gone up in price too, don't get me wrong. A Samsung 990 Pro 4 terabyte is about $900. A Western Digital Black SN 850X 4 terabyte is pushing $700. So the drives themselves aren't cheap, but what's important to note is these are significantly faster drives than the popular all-in-one drives that we buy on the daily. I'm talking speeds of 6 to 7,000 megabytes a second, where your standard USB 3.2 drive only gets up to 1,000 megabytes a second. And fun fact, even a 3.2 Gen 2 drive that touts 2,000 megabytes a second, if you're on a Mac, still caps at 1,000 megabytes a second because Macs don't support USB 3.2 Gen 2. I go into more detail about all that in the drive speeds in another video if you want to check that out. So we're dealing with the same price, but for an extremely faster SSD. Now here's where it gets interesting. You can buy a little box called an enclosure. It's basically a shell that turns your NVMe drive into an external drive. You plug it into your computer, just like a portable SSD. The difference is you buy the enclosure once, keep it, and just swap NVMe drives in and out whenever you need more storage. And just like portable SSDs, these enclosures come in different speed options. USB 3.2 or Gen 2, USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4, and Thunderbolt 5. Depending on the speed that you want, they can range from about $30 to $300. So for example, USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4, it's the same thing. I consider this the sweet spot. They cost from $48 to a little over $100 for the enclosure, and you're getting up to 3,900 megabytes per second read and write speeds. That's more than double what the Samsung T9 or Extreme Pro can do. This is an absolute beast for editing workflows, and it's the one I'd point most editors toward. And then there's Thunderbolt 5. That's the top tier right now. They cost between $150 to $300 for the enclosure, but you're getting speeds over 6,000 megabytes per second. That's crazy fast. But you do need a computer with a Thunderbolt 5 port to actually use it. So when Thunderbolt 4 and Thunderbolt 5 enclosures first came out, I picked them up because it was the most affordable way to get those speeds. Pre-built drives at that level were either insanely expensive, even back then, or they just didn't exist yet. So I went the NVMe route out of necessity. But now, with portable SSD prices where they are, the same setup just may be the smarter play for a lot of people. So let me break this down by what you actually need the drive for, because the right answer depends on the job. Your editing drive is the one you're actually cutting on. It's what your timeline is reading from, so you want it to be fast. That means a USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4 enclosure. So my pick, something like the Zyke Drive 40 gigabit enclosure for about $120. Then pair it with whatever NVMe drive fits your budget. At 2 terabytes, a Western Digital Black SN850X is around $350. Drop that into a Zyke Drive enclosure, and now you're about $470 in total. With speeds up to 3,900 megabytes per second, mind you. So for about $90 more, you're getting more than double the speed and a reusable enclosure. At 4 terabytes, the SN850X is pushing $700. With the enclosure, you're in the $800 mark, while the T9 4 terabyte is around the same price, but again, at less than half the speed. At that tier, the NVMe setup is actually cheaper and faster. And if your computer has Thunderbolt 5, a crucial T700 2 terabyte with, in a case's Thunderbolt 5 enclosure, puts you at around $450 to $500. And you're getting over 6,000 megabytes per second of read and write. That's crazy fast for that price. Now, if the drive is just holding files, old projects, camera dumps, backups, you don't need Thunderbolt speeds. A basic USB 3.2 enclosure is more than fast enough for that. And this is where the math really works in your favor. A USB 3.2 Gen 2 enclosure is $15 to $25. Pair that with a crucial T700 2 terabyte at around $340, and you're at about $355 to $365 total. That's cheaper than a Samsung T9 2 terabyte at $380. And here's the thing, that NVMe drive is a really fast drive on its own. If you ever need more speed down the line, you just pop it out of the cheap enclosure and drop it into a new, faster Thunderbolt one. Same drive, way faster. When you're buying multiple drives, that difference is paramount. Prices are up, they're staying up. There's no perfect answer. But the NVMe plus enclosure approach gives you some more speed, more flexibility, and a better value over time than buying these portable SSDs at today's prices. It's not ideal, but I feel it's the best play we got right now. And always remember, do your own homework before you buy. Prices change fast, your workflow is different from mine, and what works for me might be the right move for you. Now, I'd love to hear what y'all are using for storage right now. If you found a good deal, a setup that works, please drop them in the comments. We're all out here trying to figure this out together. But that's it for this video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. And until next time, I'll catch y'all later.